Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Archana Solanki. Here are the headlines we're tracking this evening. Sensex and Nifty rise for the third straight session. Nifty reclaims 25,000. Gold prices hit yet another record high as the rally continues. Nearly a decade after the spat between Cyrus Mistry and Ratan Tata, another power struggle is brewing at the Tata Group in fighting at majority shareholder Tata Trust over appointment of directors and sharing of information. Sources say top executives at Tata Group set to meet senior government officials. The 15,500 crore rupee Tata Capital IPO opens after strong response from anchor investors. About 35% of the book subscribed on the first day. Madhya Pradesh police arrests a government doctor for prescribing a cough syrup linked to the deaths of 14 children. A special investigation team has been formed to probe the syrup manufacturer based in Tamil Nadu. The body of a 2-year-old has been exhumed for autopsy. Government revises the rates for nearly 2,000 medical procedures for the first time since 2014. Analysts say rates hiked by over 25% for key medical procedures under the central government health scheme. Shares of private hospital chains rally in trade. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar says any trade deal between India and the US must respect New Delhi's red lines. Also says efforts are underway to reach an understanding, but both countries have failed to arrive at a landing ground so far. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal is in Qatar to finalise the terms of a free trade agreement as India seeks expansion of exports. The bilateral trade between both nations was at $14 billion in FY25, with India's energy imports accounting for $12 billion. Supreme Court sends a notice to the government over the arrest of climate activist Sonam Wangchuk. Asked the centre to consider sharing the grounds for his preventive detention with his wife. Wangchuk was arrested under the stringent National Security Act following violent protests in Ladakh. And Israel continues to bomb Gaza despite warnings from the US authorities. Delegations from Hamas and Israel gather in Egypt along with mediators to start negotiations to end the war and free the hostages. All right, let's start with the day's market action. Dalal Street gained for the third straight day. Nifty reclaimed the 25,000 mark, largely led by financials and IT stocks. However, the market breadth favoured the declines despite a green close. From equities to commodities, gold prices have surged past the $3,900 an ounce mark for the first time in the international markets. This as investors flock to the safe haven metal amid the US government shutdown and broader economic uncertainty. Meanwhile, safe haven demand also pushed Bitcoin over the $125,000 mark. However, prices eased marginally soon after. Fears of a pile-up in global debt also supported prices. Growth in India's services sector eased in September, according to HSBC S&P Global Purchasing Managers Index. Services PMI fell to 60.9 from a 15-year high of 62.9 in August. Similarly, the composite PMI reading declined to 61 against 63 in August. Tata Capital's 15,500 crore rupee initial public offering saw 36% subscription on day one. Qualified institutional buyers subscribed to 52% of the portion allocated to them, while retail investors booked 32% of their portion. Speaking to CNBC TV 18, Tata Capital CEO Rajiv Sabharwal addressed margin concerns as the firm has reported the smallest profit margins compared to its peers. Sabharwal said margins for the company's low credit costs should be considered while looking at margins.
There'll be some products where through the raw material, the impact will be seen over the next 3 months or so. So I think we are really expecting Q3 and Q4 to be really bumper quarters for this year. When you talk about the credit quality and such issues, we've been pretty quick on responding whenever there were challenges. In fact, when we saw challenges in certain segments, we became tighter and more conservative. And that was reflected in terms of our growth in those areas also. As I mentioned just some time back, we feel the worst of credit cost is behind us.
Right, nearly a decade after the spat between Cyrus Mistry and Ratan Tata, another power struggle is brewing at the Tata Group. Divisions have emerged at Tata Trusts, which owns 66% stake in Tata Sons, over the appointment of directors and sharing of information. Noel Tata is the chairman of Tata Trust, which currently has 6 members. Former Union Defence Secretary Vijay Singh was removed as a trustee in September. Infighting at majority shareholder Tata Trust over appointment of directors and sharing of information. Sources say that top executives at the Tata Group are set to meet senior government officials. Currently, Noel Tata and Venu Srinivasan are the only members to be part of both Tata Trust's trustee group and the board of Tata Sons. Hormaz Fatakia is here with more on the tensions between Tata Trust executives.
There is a fresh battle that is brewing at one of India's oldest and largest conglomerates, and there are reports of infighting that have emerged almost 9 years after the Ratan Tata versus Cyrus Mistry battle, and so much so that sources are now telling CNBC TV18 that this has landed at the doorsteps of the government. Now, what is the bone of contention here? The bone of contention is that the power struggle over the leadership within the Tata Trusts. Noel Tata is currently the chairman of the Tata Trusts after Ratan Tata's passing, and he's also opposed to Meli Mistri's attempts to get a board position. Now, he's also opposed to him getting a leadership role at the Tata Trust. Now, who is Meli Mistry? He is a director of the Mayor Polonji Group. He's a strong supporter of the late Ratan Tata and an estranged first cousin of the late Cyrus Mistry as well. Now, during that hugely public spat between the two, Meli Mistry was in favor of Ratan Tata during that period. Now, what are some of the recent developments that have happened at Tata Sons? As a result of this public spat, there was an amendment made to the Articles of Association during the 2022 AGM, which prevents the same person from chairing Tata Trusts and Tata Sons. And as a result of which, Noel Tata is now the chairman of the Tata Trusts, while N. Chandrasekaran is the chairman of the Tata Sons. Now, what has happened here is that the amendment was approved by shareholders, and as a result of which, the two entities were legally separated. Now, as early as last month, on the 11th of September, the 3-hour-long board meeting ended with the removal of Vijay Singh from the board of Tata Sons. Now, the trustees usually who vote in consensus with decision making, it was a 4-3 vote in favor of Singh's removal, where despite the fact that Noel Tata, Singh himself and Venu Srinivasan continued to vote in favor of Singh to continue on the board. Now, who is Vijay Singh? Now, 77-year-old former defense secretary, so a seasoned bureaucrat. He was one of the late Ratan Tata's closest confidants as well. And some of the issues raised in that meeting was the fact that he's above the cutoff age of 75, now that he's 77. And some of the issues raised by Pramit Jhaveri, one of the trustees, is the fact that the reappointment of Anita George as an independent director with consulting all trustees was not done. He also raised the fact that Article 121A, which requires all investments, acquisitions or disinvestment proposals above 100 crore to have prior approval from the trustees, and that was not being followed. So some of the issues raised here. What Noel Tata and Venu Srinivasan said during the meeting is that Singh's removal will set a very damaging precedent. And what further exaggerated matters was the fact that Darius Khambata, one of the trustees as well, he nominated Meli Mistry to the Tata Sons board, something that Noel Tata went on to reject. Now, what are the challenges that Tata Sons is facing? Other than all of this, there's also a lot of pressure to go public from the Reserve Bank of India. There is a lot of back and forth over this. There are also questions over transparency, governance, future control as well. So, a lot brewing at Tata Sons. The sources are telling us that the meeting has now landed at the doorsteps of the government. Only time will tell where this boardroom battle is headed.
Right. Thank you, Hormaz, for that comprehensive explanation. Moving on, the initial public offering of WeWork India saw 13% subscription so far on the second day of bidding. As of 4 p.m., the portion reserved for retail investors was subscribed 35%, while the QIB portion was booked 9%. Shares of Fortis Healthcare gained over 6% in trade. This after IHH Healthcare received approval from SEBI to proceed with the open offer for Fortis Healthcare to increase their stake in the hospital chain by another 26%. This approval has come 7 years after the Malaysian-based company acquired over 31% in the hospital giant. The big national story that we are tracking: at least 14 children have died in Madhya Pradesh after consuming a contaminated cough syrup. The affected children were initially being treated for common cold, but subsequently developed acute kidney failure. In response, Madhya Pradesh police have arrested a government doctor for prescribing the cough syrup called Coldriff. A special investigation team has also been formed to probe the syrup manufacturer based in Tamil Nadu. Authorities have also exhumed the body of a 2-year-old girl for post-mortem to determine whether the cough syrup was responsible for her kidney failure. When Network 18 inquired why the postmortems were not conducted earlier, the SDM dodged the questions. We get you this special report from Madhya Pradesh's Chhindwara.
Initial report of the postmortem is now making it very clear that cause of death of 2-year-old girl from Parasia, she died because of kidney failure. But the most important question, what led to kidney failure, this is yet to be established, and that is possible only after final report of the postmortem and after getting the Gaza report. So we are waiting for the final report of the postmortem, which will establish what finally led to this kidney failure, whether it was cough syrup. So this is yet to be established. The total number of casualty because of this cough syrup in Chhindwara district stands at 14, and more than 6 kids are still there in different hospitals in Nagpur. इसमें जब हम प्रिस्क्रिप्शन को देखते हैं तो इसमें फिर एक सरकारी अस्पताल का प्रिस्क्रिप्शन, वही कोल्ड ड्रिफ, और एक माँ के सामने अब सिर्फ एक चारा रह गया है कि वो बैठकर अपने बेटे की तस्वीर देखती रहे। किसको जिम्मेदार मानती हैं आप?
वो सायरब को ही मानीजिए। इतना पढ़े लिखे नहीं है कि डॉक्टर बन जाते, नहीं तो पढ़े लिखे रहते तो। अब वो डॉक्टर ने जो लिखा है वही समझिए उसको।
जो रिपोर्ट आई तो किडनी वाली मैडम ने से मैंने पूछा भी था, उन्होंने बताई थी कि इसकी रिपोर्ट में इंटरनल इंजरी हुई है इसकी किडनी में। तो मैंने कहा मैम ये इसको कब से प्रॉब्लम, तो उनने स्पष्ट बोलती थी कि इसकी जब से तबीयत खराब हुई है तब से उसको ये प्रॉब्लम हुई है।
वजह उसकी सिरप ही रही।
अब उन्हें ऐसा स्पष्ट मैडम ने ये नहीं बताई कि आपने जो दवाई पिलाए उससे हुई।
So the most important question, why this postmortem report is coming so late? In fact, our network, we have been raising this question even after 14 deaths of kids in Chhindwara district during the past 1 month. Why no postmortem has been conducted by the administration, by the district administration? सर, मैं आपसे सिर्फ ये जानना चाह रहा हूँ कि जो पोस्टमार्टम क्यों नहीं कराया गया?
क्योंकि उसमें पेरेंट की कंसेंट लगती है।
मैं पेरेंट्स से मिला हूँ, पेरेंट्स कह रहे हैं कि वो तो उनको प्रशासन ने पूछा भी नहीं। आपको जो सस्पिशन, जो लगातार एक के बाद एक मौतें हो रही थी और एक जिम्मेदार एसडीएम होने के नाते आप पूरे मामले को आप देख रहे थे, तो आपके मन में आया, प्रशासन के मन में आया कि इनका पोस्टमार्टम करा लिया जाए?
पोस्टमार्टम में क्या निकल के आता है? क्योंकि पोस्टमार्टम में किडनी का आता है, जो बायोप्सी कराई थी 3 किडनी की, उसमें किडनी का डैमेज आया ही हुआ है। पोस्टमार्टम में अलग से क्या निकल के आएगा? टॉक्सिन्स के लिए अलग से सैंपल भेजे ही हुए हैं।
आप मतलब अच्छी से याद करके बताइए।
नहीं सर,
पोस्टमार्टम के लिए किसी ने पूछा ही नहीं?
नहीं,
क्योंकि अभी हमें प्रशासन के एक एसडीएम है, वो कह रहे थे कि परिवार वालों ने मना कर दिया।
नहीं सर, अपने पास कोई नहीं आया सर।
नहीं, उन लोगों ने नहीं पूछा।
Then finally one body of a girl, this girl Yogita, it was exhumed and then it was sent for the postmortem, and we have got this report of the postmortem at this point of time. Why this postmortem was important? Because there are 2 types of postmortem. If it was not a police case earlier, then okay, it cannot be done because of no medical case, legal case is there. But the administration could have conducted the postmortem on the basis of pathological report. They are getting, repeated deaths, and if it is a cause of what is the cause of these repeated deaths? So to find out the cause of these repeated deaths, suspicious deaths, the administration could have taken the call itself, and they have in fact done this postmortem earlier. Had it been done earlier, obviously the casualty could not have gone to this extent of 14 kids die after 1, 2, 3, 4 deaths. If this postmortem was done, then casualty could have been less.
Moving on, at least 7 people have died after a fire broke out in the intensive care unit, the ICU of a hospital in Jaipur. Hospital officials said 4 to 5 other patients remain in critical condition. Preliminary reports suggest a short circuit triggered a fire in the trauma ICU where 11 patients were present. The government has revised the rates for nearly 2,000 medical procedures for the first time since 2014. Analysts say rates hiked by over 25% for key medical procedures under the central government health scheme. Now, shares of private hospitals chains rallied in trade as a result. The Supreme Court has deferred the hearing of Vodafone Idea's plea seeking a waiver of interest and penalties on ADR dues to the 13th of October. This after the central government sought more time. The telecom company said that it doesn't object to Centre's request, but added that they would want to celebrate Diwali this year. The Supreme Court had deferred the hearing of this case twice last month. The stock ended 3% lower on these developments. The Supreme Court has issued notices to the central government and the Ladakh Union Territory on a plea challenging Sonam Wangchuk's detention. The top court was hearing a plea filed by his wife, which also sought his immediate release. The Supreme Court has asked the government to consider sharing the grounds of Wangchuk's preventive detention. The court will hear the matter again on the 14th of October. All right, time for a short break. Coming up next, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar says any trade deal between India and the US must respect New Delhi's red lines. More on that when we return. Welcome back. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has said that India and the US have yet to arrive at a landing ground when it comes to the trade agreement. Speaking at Kautilya Economic Conclave, the minister added that talks have been ongoing since March to reach an understanding. He also added that the US must respect India's red lines.
Whatever happens, at the end of the day, there has got to be a trade understanding with the United States. There has to be one because it is the world's largest market, but also because it is, much of the world has reached those understandings. But it has to be an understanding where our bottom lines, our red lines are respected. In any agreement, there are things you can negotiate and there are things you can't. And I think we are pretty clear about that, and we have to find that landing ground, and that's been the conversation really which has been going on since March.
Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal is in Qatar to finalize the terms of a free trade agreement as India seeks expansion of exports. The bilateral trade between both nations was at $14 billion in FY25, with India's energy imports accounting for $12 billion. 28 people have died as heavy rains triggered floods and landslides in Darjeeling. Rescue operations are underway after nearly 100 landslides were reported. Red and yellow alerts remain in place for the hills as more heavy rains are expected. Authorities have warned that the risk of fresh landslides remains high. In international news, Israeli forces continue to bombard Palestinians in Gaza, killing 7 people, including 3 aid seekers since dawn. Delegations from Hamas and Israel have convened peace talks in Egypt. US President Donald Trump has urged mediators to move fast to end the war in the enclave. Ukraine said that 5 people were killed as Russia launched 500 drone attacks across cities overnight. Few drone strikes hit the Ukrainian city of Lviv that borders Poland, forcing Warsaw to scramble jets. The attacks hit energy infrastructure, causing power outages across Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia said that it had downed 251 Ukrainian drones overnight. French Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu has resigned less than a month in office. This has also come a day after he named his government. French President Macron has accepted his resignation. Lecornu's choice of ministers had been criticized across the political space, particularly his decision to bring back former Prime Minister Bruno Le Maire to serve as the Defense Ministry. He has now become the 5th French Prime Minister to step down in the past 2 years. Nearly 200 hikers are trapped on the Tibetan slopes of Mount Everest after a blizzard. Chinese authorities have said that 350 people have been guided to safety by rescuers. Hundreds of local villagers and rescue teams have been deployed to help remove snow blocking access to the area. The heavy snowfall began on Friday and intensified over the weekend. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Business 360. News and updates continue right here on CNBC TV 18.